Hey, can you hear me? Awesome. Just want to say my choice to be recorded was not free. Okay, I'm going to start in 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Okay, so we think Penelope should remarry one of the suitors for two main reasons that I'm going to bring. The first is that Ithaca needs a king in these times. The second is that these people's presence in Ithaca is a burden on the populace and we need them gone. And then Inbal is going to talk about why this is important for Penelope herself. Before I get into all that, some quick framing. Oedipus has been gone for decades, and the war in Troy ended 10 years ago. Everyone else is back. His ship has sunk. We might know that, we might not. We have no reason to believe he's coming back. And Greece is in turmoil because the big bad, the people everyone banded against, are gone. And at this point in time, the Greek city-states can start jousting for position for who's going to lead them going forward after all this death and destruction has upended the existing order. And this is the situation we're in. And Penelope just keeps waiting, hoping that maybe Odysseus will come back. Okay, so why why she needs to take a king? So, two main reasons. The first one is that at this point in time, Ithaca has no king and no warriors for a very long time. Everyone has left to go fight in the Trojan War 20 years ago, and you can't run a city-state this way. You can't have everything hinging on random people deciding to do the right thing. There's no central government here. Odysseus is the only person who can decide what goes on and what doesn't. And when he's gone, people are sort of in a free-for-all, and there's no order, and there might be chaos. And we think that's terrible for the people's safety in Ithaca. But more than that, we think because of the situation that was created by the war, people are going to start fighting soon. The reason the suitors are even there, the reason they want to marry Penelope, is because they want to gain control of Ithaca. They believe strategic marriage is the correct way forward. And so we think if we don't give them that, at some point, someone is going to take Ithaca by force. Someone is going to start a war and try to take it for them, and that's a horrible situation. Why is that a horrible situation? Because with no deterrence and with nothing to do, Ithaca will just be swept aside, and people are going to die horrible deaths in this conflict. And so we think for that reason, we need a king right now. The second point is we need that king to not be Oedipus. Again, for two main reasons. To not be Odysseus. Sorry, for two main reasons. One, Odysseus has been lost at sea for a very long time. Even if he does come back eventually, he is traumatized, he is old, he has not ruled anything for quite a while, and the odds of him succeeding in bringing this country forward are very slim. We can't hinge on that. More than that, even before he left, he did not want to be a king. When people came to take him to fight in the Trojan War, the odds of he tried to camouflage himself as a bull to not be taken, so they believe he won't be there and won't live. And that shows us so much about his character. It shows that even at his best, he shirked his responsibilities to be with his family, and he was unwilling to fight. And in this situation, where Ithaca has to be rebuilt because of all of the damage caused by him not being there, and when war is on the horizon and someone needs to lead the people to it, he is not the proper king. And we think that for these reasons, Penelope should take the best suitor she can find to make the best situation for the people. But remember, she is in charge of, because at this point, she's the only one who can care for their interests with everyone else gone in the war. Yes, Tal?
We would like to hear why you think the situation is so bad. We think 20 years, everything is okay. She can run things on her own. Strong feminist case will run in a row.
We think strong feminist cases are fantastic, but irrelevant in Greece 4,000 years ago. Even if she's great, even if she has the mental capacity to do everything right, the people are not going to trust her. The people are not going to follow her the same way they follow a king. And certainly the kings of other states are not going to see her right? We'll see her as someone who has no military experience, no knowledge of this, because she was never trained for this position. She was trained to be a consort. And so they will likely attack at the first possible opportunity. Okay. the second point, why this is a burden on the people of Ithaca. The presence itself and should end as soon as possible. So first of all, these people, there's 108 of them. They're used to a very lavish lifestyle. They're used to doing what they want. They're used to drinking and eating however much they want. They don't pay for themselves, and they've been here for years. They feel at home. And at this point, the people of Ithaca have to keep feeding them, to keep giving them wine, and to keep supporting this type of lifestyle that's unsustainable and super expensive. That's a huge burden on the population. We know that these people trash the palace in their parties and in their celebrations, and we think that it's immoral to force the populace of Ithaca to pay for this entire thing because Penelope has some long shot of seeing her husband back. More than that, we think that the very act of seeing these people live in this palace for so long is very damaging to the population. Because this is a small population, everyone knows everyone. This is not a city of millions of people. There are a few thousands of people there. And they have their sense of sovereignty. They have their sense that they rule their area of the country and that they're the masters of it. And when they see day in and day out over 100 people doing whatever they want in their palace, not giving a shit about them, and their queen standing helpless and finding all kinds of strange delay tactics which help her not get married but don't help them at all, it makes them feel weak. It makes them feel like they have no control over their destiny and no one cares for them. And we think that this is a huge damage both to the people themselves who don't want to live in this situation, who care very deeply about the way that they're treated, and also for Ithaca's ability to rise up, because when there will be a government, assuming it's led by Penelope, they will trust her less because they saw she didn't care for them last time. And so she needs to take a suitor as soon as possible to avoid this situation. So overall, if she takes a suitor as soon as possible, she prevents war, she puts Ithaca in a better, more functional position, and she will end the misery of the people of Ithaca and make them trust her a lot more. And for these reasons, we are happy to propose. Thank you.
I thank the Prime Minister for this wonderful speech, and I'm happy to call the leader of opposition.
Cool. Am I clearly audible and visible? Wonderful.
Yes, you are.
Okay, Lior, kind panel. You all look lovely today. It's not as good when I do it. I will begin my 3, 2, 1. What I'm going to analyze to you today is that Odysseus is a unique king to Ithaca and a unique partner to Penelope. I will be in direct clash with Nadav, and I will flag in my speech when I will be rebuttaling his positive analysis. Let's start with a tiny bit of framing. We believe that Penelope's joy matters in this debate, and we believe that we will clearly win on that metric, but it's important to know that it is not an actor motion. We care for Ithaca and the people of Ithaca. She also cares for Ithaca and the people of Ithaca. It seems that OG agreed. Great. Let's ask what's better for her kingdom and start by analyzing how Odysseus is a unique king to Ithaca, and start by doing some framing on who this man is, because OG didn't seem to care. So we're going to explain about 5 things about him. First, he is a cunning general. During the war that involved during the Trojan War that involves all sorts of Greek kings, he is the one who came up with the Trojan horse, as in the strategy that allowed them to win the war in the end, after spending the entirety of the war on the council and as a chief strategist. Secondly, he was an esteemed leader. He was on the advisory council of Agamemnon and Achilles. Other Greek kings looked to him for guidance. Thirdly, he was a brave fighter. He volunteers to duel the Trojan Hector. He fights on the front line. Gods fight through him. Fourthly, he's a resourceful survivor. He kept his men alive for 20 years, despite Poseidon and other gods who were salty about him basically single-handedly winning the Trojan War, directing him towards foil after foil, monster after monster, and he beat them one by one, which also shows us that he is a favorite of many gods. We see this throughout the Odyssey, and we see this in his adventures before the Trojan War. Why does now note this isn't that the gods don't have to exist? We just need Penelope to believe that the god exists and accept all of this about him, which she does, because she is his adoring, like-minded wife. How does all of this help the people of Ithaca? Firstly, through diplomacy, because we agree that there are many small states and that there is value in cooperating with them. We don't think that it is as simplistic as opening government pointed in terms of war. And we think that at this point, all states are small and constantly maintain relationships with many other small neighbors, leading to significant advantage if you're an esteemed diplomat. Secondly, the ability to provide protection is critical, not to your own people. Note, Ithaca was a very safe Western Ionian island, but to your allies, because then you provide a unique benefit to them, allowing you better trade, etc. Thirdly, beloved of the gods means that people legitimately thought he had their favor in all things he did in life, and they perceived him as being a wise, selfless leader who actively fought for the benefit of society. Note that all of this is incredibly rare in ancient Greek, where most people just rule by might makes right, such as, for instance, Agamemnon, the person who led the Trojan War. Now, until he returns, it is safe to assume that Penelope, so first of all, this means that if he returns, that would be better for them. And this is an absolute possibility in the real world, well, in the quote unquote real world. This is what happened. This is what we have seen to happen. So we think that is already that she already made the correct decision practically by not remarrying. But also until he returns, we think that Penelope is likely to rule as he does. Why? We are told throughout the story that they are like-minded people. In fact, this is one of the origins of the term soulmate, because Penelope actively compares every other suitor to Odysseus, who is just better than every single one of them. She thinks like him regarding people and rulership, the responsibility of rulers and what they must do. She craves his return and his pride in her managing to retain the kingdom functioning throughout hardships, throughout him not being around. Now, she is able to do this by using her intelligence, by using sabotage and tricks, right? Because she does live in a patriarchal society, but she still managed to retain power for 20 years, which is unique for thousands of years going forward, because she manages to convince her advisors and other rich members of upper society that the political balance within Ithaca and in the area is better maintained when she, a representative of the old guard, remains in power, waiting for Odysseus to return, as opposed to if she marries one of the suitors, making them the king of Ithaca. Since all of these suitors are very powerful men, that would be a dramatic shift in the balance of power in favor of one of them, which would upset either the politics within Ithaca if she marries someone internally, or outside of Ithaca if she marries someone externally. This is very, very dangerous for the people of Ithaca. But note that in our world, she simply has a legitimate explanation. She says she's a grieving, maybe widow, and she's taking her time, and she needs someone as good as him, and people buy it. People don't pressure, and she's able to maintain Ithaca until Odysseus returned, and any other king would be bad. And here I'm going to rebut opening government, but before I do, I'm happy to take a POI from them.
You say Odysseus is so great, but we have no way of knowing he'll come back. And at this point in time, the damages keep compounding with each day Penelope postpones it.
I don't think the damages keep compounding. I don't think that you managed to fill that burden. I also think that she thought it's likely for him to return for all of the reasons I already explained as to who he was. We saw that happening in the real world, and we didn't receive any analysis on why it's likely that he wouldn't return other than time passed, which we don't think is incredibly brilliant analysis from OG. So let's rebut some of what they say on why they just need any king, any old king would be fine. So first of all, they say they don't have a king and warriors, so they rely on random people and have no central government. So there are warriors, because some warriors went to war 20 years ago, but new young people become young adults and become warriors from time to time. And also, it was an alliance offensive war. It wasn't a defensive war. They didn't send all their men. Obviously, it was more important than that their kingdom remains. Then they tell us that someone is likely to start a war against them and conquer them. I love the confidence in which Nadav asserts this will happen without any analysis, when in the story it doesn't happen. And as I already explained, there is less of a political balance when someone marries Ithaca and becomes king of Ithaca, on top of also being king of Epirus or king of Thessaloniki or whatever. And then they say that people won't follow her or respect her. Again, we received no analysis. She has tons of knowledge. She is known for her unique wisdom and beauty. That's why dozens of suitors spend decades suiting her. And finally, they said that the suitors are destructive and expensive, but that does not grant us much confidence that wedding one of them, not us or the people of Ithaca, that wedding one of them is going to lead to good governance. We think that they'll perceive them as a new external dictator. So why would any other king be worse for Ithaca? First of all, because most of the kings aren't like Odysseus, and the people of Ithaca know Odysseus. They'll compare anyone to Odysseus, and anyone that their queen was willing to settle. Secondly, because we specifically know that other leaders in ancient Greece were often not like Odysseus, but were very hedonistic and self-focused. Thirdly, we think that she will simply lose her direct control and autonomy, and someone else will be boss to deciding things not only over the people of Ithaca, but also over her own life. Fourthly, she is likely to lose the support of multiple factions once she weds a single one of them because she has clearly aligned herself. And finally, if and when Odysseus returns, then we have a huge civil war between the old king and the new king. And even though Penelope is likely to prefer Odysseus, the new king will have had years to cement his rule and every interest in the world to go to a serious war with Odysseus's band of haggard people. Thank you very much.
I think the leader of opposition have to call the deputy prime minister here.
Hi, am I audible? Awesome. Just a sec. Okay, I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, and 1. We prefer Ithaca surviving, avoiding destructive war, and Penelope not getting raped over the tiny chance of Odysseus coming back. In my speech, you'll get why there's a very small chance of Odysseus coming back, what will happen to Penelope during that time, she'll get raped and a worse king will come up, and why she must remarry now rather than later. Before that, some external rebuttal to OO, and then let's get cracking. Okay, so what does OO give us? He tells us, well, we on OG forget who this man is. We do not. We think that OO is forgetting who this man, that this man is no longer that man. That they're focusing on who he was. They're giving us analysis on how Odysseus was when he was 20 years old, before the trauma that Nadav gives you and OO doesn't engage with, before the fact that we thought that he was lost at sea and broken, right? And before, and moreover, he gives you a lot of things that he thinks Penelope knows, but has no reason to know, because Penelope doesn't know what went down in Troy, because Penelope knows that the gods have something against Odysseus, right? Like Poseidon is torturing him in sea for 20 years. That's what we know. And Penelope just has no idea that Odysseus will come back. Even if Penelope remembers that Odysseus is a survivor, which he is, we don't think that she can, one, rely on the fact that she's alive, and I'll give more mechanisms to that later. But moreover, we don't think she has reasons to believe that he'll come back home, because Odysseus is known to stay where he can survive, where it's convenient. That's what he did in the bull story that Nadav gave you, and we don't think that she has any reason to think that he comes back, except for the assertion that OO gives you, true love. We know that he's not in the favor of gods. We know that Poseidon's been toying with him for like forever, so we don't accept that analysis. Maybe he was. He's fallen from grace. Duh. One more lie from OO. Oh, civil war. Okay. You know what? That'll be in my speech. Okay. So why must Penelope marry now and not later? So what's the story, right? Suitors are coming to our door while Ithaca slowly diminishes and falls from grace, right? And we think that if before Penelope had some political power, and Ithaca too, because there were people who were under Odysseus' influence 20 years ago, because they learned how to trade, how to be politically strong against collaborators and allies, because they carried the spirit of being smart and ruling. Now slowly they diminish, and we think that they have less and less of the people who actually know how to rule. But we also think that Penelope herself has less political power. Today, these suitors are still political. Why? 2 reasons. Why? They see potential in Ithaca, remembering that Ithaca for what it was and what it can be, right? It can be a powerful trading station on the sea. It can be a powerful ally for political war. And 2, we think that they see political power in Penelope herself. Why is this? For 2 reasons. A, because she's still young enough to bear sons, and this is critical, friends, right? Because if you wait 5 years, you can't have a legacy with her, right? So there won't be any real potential to marry her, except for maybe hurt her or like take her away or something like that, right? But the real potential power in Penelope is the fact that she's strong, right? We'll get more to why she can't rule alone later, okay? But B, she still has living followers who remember her halo, who remember Odysseus's rule, who are still following her. And we think that slowly changes because she's portrayed as weak. And come on, guys, we know the story. She's not out there talking to like the folks in the market and tying political ties. She's sitting in a room and she's knitting a scarf. Come on, we know she's not going to be a good ruler. We know that's not what she's been doing in the last 20 years. She's two things. One, perceived as vulnerable because she's staying in the exact same room, coming up with excuses about why she can't rule. And two, she's not doing the work to be political strong. She's not making the ties. She's not like working the streets, right? So we have absolutely no reason to believe, it's mystic story. But more than that, if she does rule, we think it will hurt all women, right? Because she'll be the first, else she'll be bad at it, right? And we think that will set a bad precedent, and we want to avoid that at any cost. So lying feminist case, bad for women. Okay. So we think that her well-being is likely to be hurt, okay? We think that she is likely to be assaulted over time because today's political suitors will later turn into more low-level suitors. She'll have less choice, right? Because today she's attractive, both politically and physically, tomorrow not, okay? Because time ticks by and her political power diminishes, right? And we think that she's likely to be raped, she's likely to be taken advantage of. And the men themselves, you have to remember this, they keep asking for her hand. So they're going to change from respectful to disgruntled and bruised and rejection because they keep hearing the word no. And we think that one of them ought to come up and take her hand no matter what, right? So who rises in her place? Two options we say. One, it's either an aggressive actor if you wait too long, right? Because it's someone who's willing to take power despite not being granted it, right? We say it's someone who's much worse, much more external than what, Ayal tries to give you, right? He's willing to break the bloodline. He's willing to use violence. Or two, her son, who's like this guy who grew up with no parental figures. No one's taught him how to walk the ropes, and his mom is in like this depression for 20 years. We say he has no influence, bad ruler. We don't want him at all. Okay, I'd love to take second half at this point.
We think that what's most important is Penelope's happiness that's achieved by Penelope being loyal and not falling to the belief that Odysseus.
Okay, listen. A raped Penelope is an unhappy Penelope. If you're gonna show that she's not gonna be assaulted and taken care of, good luck with that. But even if that's true, that gives you mechanisms as to why it's critical to save all of Ithaca, not Penelope, right? And we think that we get on our side less war, right? And he tells you that you need this kind of ruler because there are tough decisions to be made, right? Why are there tough decisions to be made? Because right now in Greece, it's time of tumult, of war. The economy in Ithaca is in bad shape. They just sent all their ships, all their wood, all their warriors out of the house. And we think that they have to work in crisis, and we weigh that as the most important thing in the debate, which is the continuancy and the safety of all the people in Ithaca. We think it's crucial, and it's more important than Penelope's happy, which we also win, right? But why is there a very small chance of Odysseus coming back? We say, one, he's old, right? Greeks those years died naturally at 40, right? They just have a shorter lifespan. Two, he was in a war overseas. Even if the amount of forces was balanced, right? He has just a longer way home with Cyclops and seas and dangers. 3, 20 years, no signs of him. Come on, guys. What's the chance that he's still alive? And 4, and the Nadav give this to you. Even if he comes back, it's just a different man. He's in trauma. We just beg you to approach.
But maybe later withdraw.
Yay, she was pressured into consenting. Good job, everyone.
Okay. Ayal, I do not understand what you want from me. Never mind, now explain. One second. Okay. Dear panel, look very pretty today. I begin, please, in will analyze Penelope's life. I will analyze first why marriage is bad for all women, specifically Penelope. Second, why being single is great, and especially waiting. There will be a feminist case and many weighings before rebuttal. OG tell us, we don't know if they come back. I agree, it's all speculative. Yes, every analyst we give you is speculative. It's 50-50 chance. On one side, it's 20 years. On the other side, like Ayal tells you, he's the son of God, the most amazing man in the world for her. He went to war. It's logical, it will take time. Sometimes there is traffic, even in sea. So he thinks he has hope and she believes he can come back. This is what is important. Then there's, oh, she will be probably harmed and raped and stuff like that. Firstly, we think we have people who are loyal to Odysseus who are going to protect her, because she is, waiting for him, so she sees like some kind of saint. Secondly, there is taboo against her of women. Thirdly, she lives in the castle. I don't think who is going to go into the castle and do bad things to her. I don't think it's very possible. And then there's, oh, but he changed 20 years. We think in 20 years, she had all the basis to think he just did become better because 20 years he fought and he come back. So she thinks every day that passes, oh, he is now continuing to fight for me. She has a thing to believe that he is good for her and will come back. So we don't think we think the memories she has are very relevant to the present, because in the present she has to make a decision in a status of unknowing, in a status of uncertainty. So we think the only way she can make a decision is rely on her past memories. Let's talk about Penelope's life. Firstly, why marriage is bad. It's likely not going to be a positive relationship. Why? She is going to be in constant conflict and cognitive dissonance because she loves another person. She does not want to marry another person. This is like the thing we presume in this motion. So, but she's doing it for other people because she may be afraid. She's going to feel like all the time she cannot love him, she cannot love him, and thinking about her Odysseus. Yes, she's going to feel also very guilty. How dare she move on when he is probably fighting for her kingdom? So she's not going to have the emotional time to invest in this thing. Secondly, she did not get closure of her relationship, so she always has the thought of the relationships. How do we know she's not getting closure? And 108 people are coming and she says, no, she thinks about him all the time. Thirdly, she knows he does not come here for her, but for power, for her, stuff like that. She was not the motive. When I don't think someone wants me, I think he wants some title or some kind of power. I know I'm not his real goal. I develop an anti for him in the first place. When think, especially in patriarchal like standpoint, it's extremely important. There is some basis for love, some kind of spark in the beginning, which we do not have. Lastly, they say she is likely to be raped in the comparative. She is raped if she agrees. Why? Because by definition, she does not want to be with this man. She wants to be with Odysseus. If she agrees to someone else and she sleeps with him and gives him a hair because she feels obligated, this is the definition of the having sex when you don't want to do. It's going to be constant psychological trauma for her. Fifth mechanism, she's not going to have enough time to develop leadership because he's going to be busy in running the country. She used to run the country behind like the scenes. We don't get this characterization. She's sitting and just knitting. We think it's really unlikely. In order to move 20 years, she has to have some being able to influence her way and whisper in deep and convince her to do what she wants. It's going to be very hard for her to let go and go back to this woman who's sitting in the corner in the chair knitting. So it's likely not going to be a good regime. It's likely going to make many conflicts. Second, let's analyze the comparative. Why waiting is a good thing. Firstly, it gives her hope. When I wait every day, I think about him, I look at his picture, I hear his voice in my head, I have hope. Hope gives me power to go on. She doesn't have to let go of the memory of Odysseus. In his memory, it's always her in the heart. Secondly, feminist case. We think OG tells us, oh, she's likely going to fail. We don't get her characterization. The only way she could have made it 20 years, 20 years is a long, long time, if she has some ways of ruling. If she succeeds and does manage to run, this is amazing. This is like a way for her to have an impact on society. Everyone knows she's alone. Everyone knows she runs the things behind the bars. But if she fails, there is no delta, there is no damage, because they already think women can't rule, so we don't think there's any active damage. We think that when everyone knows she does not want to marry, and everyone knows she runs an order, and especially in this historic period, she's going to be seen as the exception. Because she doesn't will. Secondly, because everything they said is going to happen did not happen, so she probably has like the benefit of the goodwill of the gods. It's probably special, and people have a lot of ways to justify to themselves why she is the exception, because she's a saint waiting for him, because it's a virtue to wait. Because 20 years. Why it's legitimate to prioritize herself? Before that, an extension, please make for me extensions. Why is legitimate to prioritize herself? First, certainty. She has no clue how this new husband is going to be. On the contrary, she does know she can run the country in a fairly good way because she managed 20 years. She does know what mechanisms she has, and she has many advisors. But in contrary, when he comes, maybe he's nice and charming in the first week. We all know this dude. But after 1 month, he stops being nice and good boyfriend and start like using you for bad things. So I think it's very likely this will happen. Secondly, she's the one who has to live with the consequence of the relationship and has unique heart because of their characterization. This is her legacy, the thing she is remembering. Thirdly, each person is a targeted on this and not a mean. And Penelope is no different. All of her life, she sacrificed for others. This is too big of a sacrifice to give up their hope, her will to live, her biggest love, to ruin the part of herself, which is her relationship, and to be with a man she does not want, to sleep with him, to maybe have his children, to give up her most intimate part of her, the thing that causes to left. We think it's too much. Any engagement closing, opening, okay.
Yeah. OO is not comparative. Penelope and Odysseus' marriage, like all political marriages, are fixed too. Penelope can get married and get another moderately okay marriage and a surviving Ithaca that doesn't get trashed.
I think she has a love story. This is why she went. Maybe in the beginning it was political, but she fell in love with him. And I'll give you minutes about how she detests and she saw him as the best. And now when they have this strong love, this is something takes away. Note closing did not give us any engagement. I expect them to take us at least 2 PYs for it to be fair debate. Okay. I think that also this damage is terrible damage. Why? Because this man may do good things, but he may do bad things. And when she does things, she's going to be powerless, defenseless. Why is she defenseless? Firstly, it is seen as her own choice. She gave up like the way to the right, giving up the government. She chose to marry him as so. Secondly, and she loses her ability to go and influence by mechanism, a covert mechanism, because now he's in the ruling seat. And lastly, if she's not seen as the saint who is waiting for her husband, who the people love. Ayal already analyzed you why so many people care about Odysseus. They love him. It's going to lead to a civil war. Because firstly, we analyze her life, and there is no justification for ruining your whole life for some social cause, which is not likely going to happen. And because it's better for the government, and also we give women good impacts for 2,000 years, vote a war, please.
I think it's definitely a proposition. I would call the government to approve it.
Audible? Cool. I'll start in 3, 2, 1. Look, there's only one thing that we care about close to government in this debate. We want to prevent violence. We're going to show this in 3 ways. Firstly, we're going to say why it's highly likely that a civil war in Ithaca is going to start, giving a lot of things that from opening government that was missing, why it's likely, or why it's likely that the external war will start. Secondly, why we think that Penny can specifically make the civil war not happen. And thirdly, we're going to say why specifically it's important that she chooses a king rather than a random king arises, and why this is really important. She has all the options to do this. First of all, some rebuttal. Look, I don't give a fuck whether Odysseus is coming back. Okay, given that, one, I'm going to explain why I think it's highly likely that a war will start soon and we need to act now. Secondly, it's highly likely that if she marries, this will not stop the war, and therefore this is extremely important. And thirdly, it's just, if you weigh all this, maybe Oedipus will come back, but again, I'm going to show you concrete things that are going to happen, so I don't really care if maybe he'll come back. I'll show you she's going to have a great alternative king. That is good enough. Secondly, I don't care about Penny, okay? Like, I care about preventing violence. Here's the thing. Penny is a privileged queen. People were fighting for her 20 years in a war while she sat in a palace and ate grapes. Okay? Penny has the privilege to say no to 160 or 108 suitors because she doesn't feel like doing her duty as a queen and getting a king on the throne. So yes, if she is so smart, maybe she can find a way not to sleep with him, but we do need a king, okay? And that is what's really important here. We think that she is much more defenseless on the opposite side, where she's most likely the throne will be taken over by another king in a civil war, and she will probably be murdered.
Dafna.
What?
Sorry to stop you. I was dropped at the beginning of your speech. I didn't hear a word. So it's very sad that it happened in the panel, but Wi-Fi is bad. Now I'm in hotspot. So if it's
I don't
okay,
know what to do.
I would love it if you can start the speech back from the start.
Okay.
Camera's off, maybe?
Sorry. And maybe, yeah, and I'm pay attention that I'm here. Like, it's not your fault. But
It's hard. There's like 20 people.
yeah, of course.
22
Just-
people.
yeah,
Okay.
I know.
So I'll start again. It's so weird. Okay. Three,
Sorry,
two,
Zoe is weird.
yeah. 3, 2, 1. Okay. I'm going to talk about 3 points in my speech. The only thing that I care about in this speech is preventing violence. And the first thing I'm going to do is explain why it's highly likely there's going to be a civil war or perhaps a war with another country, given that she doesn't marry. Secondly, I'm going to explain why, when she marries, that this alternative goes away. And thirdly, I'm going to explain why we think that she has a great option to choose a great alternative leader that will actually be a great king. And I'm sad that Odysseus isn't here, but we can have another alternative wonderful king. First point of rebuttal. I don't really care whether Odysseus, that's a weird mess, comes back, because what I'm going to say is that one thing, I'm going to prove that the war is going to start soon. That is something that is inevitable. Secondly, what I'm going to say is that it's inevitable that if she marries, she can actually prevent this. And thirdly, maybe he's going to come back. That is not inevitable. So it doesn't really matter. Even if he comes back, that's a plus. That's good. But what I'm going to show you is how I actually prevent harm. So maybe he'll come back and there'll be 2 kings. I don't really care. Secondly, I don't care about Penny, okay? This whole idea how they portray her as like this sad queen who she has to choose who to marry. Oh my God, she gets to choose who to marry. That is great. Like that, she is a privileged queen. She sent away people to fight for her for a war for 20 years while she's sitting in the palace, okay? And getting to like cock block 106 suitors, okay? We think she has a huge ability to choose who she wants to marry. She seems like an extremely cunning lady. So if she really doesn't want to sleep with him, maybe she will get a way not to sleep with him. We've seen that happen in the past with like people with all these queens. Okay, but we definitely don't think that she's defenseless. And on the opposite side, we think that if the civil war will come out and she will lose her job as the queen, because the new person on the throne will say, no, you told me no, I don't want you here. That way she'll be defenseless. She'll be 100% killed. And lastly, something that's really important to understand. The fact that Penny is pretty, the fact that Penny is cunning, the fact that Penny is smart does not mean that she necessarily knows, one, how to run a country, because one, we think that running a country back in those days was a highly military job, okay? What we're saying that is in those cases, because she doesn't have a military background, she's highly unlikely to be able to do that. Secondly, we say that she did not most likely have the upbringing that taught her how the country works and all these things, which we think that kings and royals do. And thirdly, we say it just does not mean that anybody wants to listen to her. She might, in opposition case, best case, she might be possibly the best queen in but nobody is going to want to listen to her. We have no idea why in those 20 years anybody listened to her. In the same reason, we can say that maybe the other people took care of the country and she was still not doing anything but like twirling lovers around and telling them she doesn't want to marry them. We have no proof that she was the one running the country, and we're giving you actual analysis why it's highly unlikely that she'll be able to actually do it well. That already puts us above opening opposition. Let's now explain how specifically we prevent violence. Because look, what we're telling you is that we think that it's high war in Ithaca is going to actually, in the near future, actually come about. Opening government does tell you that this happens. We don't give you why it's highly likely that's going to happen. So here's specifically the analysis of why this is true. Because we think that given what opening opposition tells us about Odysseus and how big of a king he was, how big of an influence he was, given that he leaves this enormous lack behind, this enormous confusion, where is he? The war is over. Why is he not back? This is a great opportunity for different princesses and powerhouses inside Ithaca to start actually saying, you know what? There's no general that's in charge of the whole country. I'm actually a general. I have my own little fleet because I'm a little kingdom here. A little kingdom there has their own fleet. This is a highly volatile situation where when there's no general on top, which like opening opposition says, Odysseus was, there's highly likely that each one of these little princes or kingdoms will say, you know what? I should be in charge of Ithaca. I can do that. 106 suitors is a lot of people. Let's say 50 of them are from like the kingdom of Ithaca. That is already a civil war waiting to happen. But we say that the second thing is that when you are finished as a country and you have just finished a war, you are just a very weak country. You're also highly likely to be preyed upon by external countries. So just another country, I don't know, let's say not Troya because Troya's dead, but let's say another Troya, okay? Like and that is highly likely to say, you know what, Ithaca is really weak at this stage. It's good that we should attack them and we can take them over. We think that is also something that's highly likely and can be prevented. Let's explain how specifically this can be prevented. Because the way that Penny has a specific opportunity to actually prevent this is twofold. Firstly, it seems from the info slide that if she marries, that person becomes king automatically. That means that it's highly likely that given that Odysseus, that if opening opposition says that they so highly regard Penny, that they will highly, highly regard the person that she claims that is now the should be king. And that means that at once, all the different kingdoms in Ithaca come together under this new king and say, you know what, we shouldn't fight. We have a king, we have somebody who can actually lead us. But more likely, and this is my third point, it's highly likely that she will actually choose a very competent king, because given what opening opposition says, how like she's very smart and things like that, and she's been with Oedipus and she's seen what good of a leader is, then she'll want to actually do this again. And she'll say, you know what, he reminds me of Oedipus. He's going to be a really good leader. And if she chooses him, then he's now going to be the leader. And that means that that country's under a wonderful new leader. And this is an opportunity that Penny has that only she has. Because let me tell you the alternative for a second. The alternative is a civil war where most likely the person who wins, the king who wins, is going to be the most vicious king. And the king who just by chance has the best techniques, I have a dog here, the best techniques and the best way to actually just kill all his kind of brothers, most likely, to the kingdom. That doesn't mean that he's necessarily the best king for the kingdom. And if they say Penny has such a love for the kingdom and is so good, great, she should choose the king. This is an amazing opportunity, opening opposition.
Yes, we think new leader does not have experience, likely to want to prove itself and make many mistakes. On the comparative waiting, they think God protect them. If Odysseus come back, he protect them. And
I have no idea. Okay,
good.
I have no idea why a new leader doesn't have why he doesn't have more leadership skills than perhaps Penny. Maybe yes, but we're trying to weigh here the things that are most likely. Most likely, civil war starts now. Most likely, if she chooses somebody who will be enough etiquette to not ruin the country. Maybe Oedipus is the most amazing king. I don't know, but the chances that he's coming back are low. So are we going to actually take the chance and have the country burn and fall to the ground because of a civil war? Because maybe he's going to come back? I don't think so. You have to prove that. And lastly, I want to point out that the other option, that it's not a civil war, but an external country wants to actually come in and invade Ithaca. Even in this chance, Penny has an amazing opportunity because she can marry one of those countries that wants to invade, and therefore they make a brotherhood. And we've seen this happen tons of times in the past, where countries that used to be fighting just had a marriage, and all of a sudden they're hunky-dory and they're perfectly fine with each other. And we think that Penny has this amazing opportunity to do this if she chooses. She's a smart woman. She can choose the country that is most problematic and marry the leader from there, saving the lives. We win because we have least violence.
I think the member of government will be called a member of opposition.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Great, so just give me a few seconds to arrange my notes. We're going to start in 3, 2, 1. We believe that the main clashes in this debate are, first of all, the happiness of Penelope, and secondly, the happiness and the good of all the kingdom and Ithaca and the benefit of the citizens. This is why our extension is going to be, first of all, why she's going to be happier because of her loyalty, and the second thing that we want to talk about is why her reign is likely to be the best reign for the kingdom, better than any other reign that the man that wants to marry her could bring. Before that, quick framing and rebuttal. So for framing, we want to say 3 things. The first thing is that her husband was very, very good for her, right? And B, this means that she loved him a lot. And the third thing for framing that is important to remember is that she believes that he's still alive, right? It doesn't matter how much governments tell you that there is a slim chance that he is alive and there is a slim chance that he will come back. What matters is what she believes, and she believes that he is still alive. This will also be crucial in my analysis later. So let's start with rebuttals. So I'll mainly clash with OG, and then Inbal will do the rest. So OG tells us that Ithaca needs a king, otherwise there will be chaos, and other kingdoms would start a war, and etc. etc. We say that we don't understand. At no point did they actually analyze why specifically there is a war or not, and if there is a chaos or not, right? We believe that there shouldn't be a chaos because she can actually rule by herself, because she actually has advisor, etc. So there is a ruling person and a ruling institution. Then we don't understand why it's likely to be a chaos. The second thing about war, we don't understand why specifically when a country has no king, she's likely to get into a war. We simply believe that they still have, that this is a very strong country in both worlds, that they have many soldiers, that they have a lot of money. These are all things that actually countries consider before attacking other countries. Therefore, we don't understand why it's going to be a war. So the second thing about her, like being a ruler. So Inbal tells us, oh no, she's going to sit in a room and be very, very sad, etc. We believe that it's simply unlikely because A, she can be the ruler, but B, the second thing is that she believes that this is what her husband would like her to do. We believe that she would, because she loves him so much, and because she believes that he will return, she would love to fulfill this and be the ruler and not just sit in her room. So now to my points, the first one is about loyalty. Look, like I said, she loves him a lot, and she believes that he means a lot to her, and she thinks that he's going to return. This means that she feels like she owes him because she loved him so much, because he was so kind to her, because he was so big part of her life, and because he might be again part of her life in the future. So she believes that she should be loyal to him, right? And this comes into and like betraying this loyalty will harm her in two different mechanisms. The first one is that the hope for as itself is something that is holding her happy, is keeping her happy, keeping her alive, and keeping her doing what she's doing, right? We believe that even if we just take the hope itself, even if she just recognizes that once she marries someone else, then she's actually giving up the hope that he will return. Therefore, she is giving up what's keeping her happy and the hope that matters to her so much. But moreover, not only like that the hope is important for her happiness, she would actually, this is B, she would actually feel like she's betraying him, right? Because the fact that she believes that he will return, and the fact that she believes that he would want her to wait for him, means that if she now marries someone else, then she's sort of cheating on him. She replaced him. She went to another man, right? Because she loves him so much, and because she believes that he's going to return. This would actually mean that she feels like a traitor to her own husband she loved so much. Therefore, this would cause her a lot of unhappiness. Okay, now my second point is, why do we believe that this is the best for Ithaca? Because simply she's going to be the best ruler, okay? This is going to come into analysis. Who she cares about, right? We believe man in this time that is likely to want to be a king and likely to actually become a king is someone who cares about himself. He cares about the power that he receives. He cares about the money that he's going to receive. He cares about the control that he's going to receive, right? We believe that this is not something that I need to like start from my head. This is simply read history. This is why this is what kings all the time wanted. They wanted their own good and not the people's good. On the other hand, we believe that she would want the best for her people because she feels like she's doing this as a duty and as a destiny and as a mission from her husband. She's likely to actually to fulfill the values that he believed in, the values that are greater good, the values that are being like people's benefit. We believe that the very idea that her interest is the people and not herself, means that we are likely to get a better rule for the kingdom. Before I continue to the second mechanism, yes, second half.
Okay, but if she cares so much about her civilians, then she's not going to be sad to marry somebody who at the end of the day, what the goal of that marriage is to save as many civilians by actually not having a civil war or being attacked on the outside.
Okay, thank you. No, we believe that if she marries someone else, then she doesn't know if this someone is going to be the best ruler. In our side of the house, we analyze why she is a better ruler than any other man that might and Inbal will engage with your case later. So the second analysis is for why we believe that she is a better ruler is not only that she cares about the people, but actually she does not make decisions by herself, right? Because we agree with the characterization that we're living in ancient Greek where there is a lot of the people are not feminists, right? Which means that at the beginning, at least, they will question her rule. This means, because she wasn't a ruler so far, that she would actually base her decisions more with other people, with advisors that she has, right? We believe that this means two things. A, when we count on other people's opinions, then we are less likely to make mistakes because we make a more rational decisions, because we consider more factors that other people might see that I don't. But the second thing is that we are less likely to make decisions based on a glimpse, based on an ego and etc. that we know that king men used to do. At the end of the day, we believe that this will benefit her happiness, will benefit the people's happiness, and for all these reasons, we are very proud to.
I think a member of opposition after talking on the tweet.
Can you hear me? Lior, don't go offline, please.
I'll keep my video on so you can see me. Maybe I'm going to bring my charger for a second to make sure that it doesn't go. So wait 10 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Okay. We'll start in 3, 2, 1. The one and the only metrics in this debate is in which side we have less civil wars or wars as in general, and where we have less blood spread across all the country. We know that in those specific times, it's already very fragile, and wars and violence is something that often happens. So if we can have some sort of stability in this very Games of Thrones period of time, this is what we want to do. And by saving as many lives as we want, this is the greatest impact that we can get. And the only group that proved it in the most likely way, it's us. We're gonna wait. The only clash that's important in this, and this is the safety of the people of Ithaca, and in general, as Dafna already said, we really do not care about the happiness of Penelope, because let me tell you, if there is a war, she will die as well. So her happiness cannot be weighted above anything here. In case of war, she will be the first one to be hanged publicly. Okay, so let's put that off the table. First of all, a bit of rebuild to what we heard from Dafna, and just let me frame it to you. Dafna gives you 3 very reasonable scenarios where there is gonna be a war. First of all, civil war with inside trials and inside places of a small political power that now want to take over, and they are identifying this weakness of the throne and of the government. Secondly, an outside forces that can see Penelope as a weak leader, as she is a woman, and I will explain her later. And thirdly, the king that will come later by either conquering it or either just lacking of other good possibilities will be probably the worst option, or maybe the most brutal king there is. And therefore, by those 3 points, those 3 legs, this is where our case is hanging, and this is our main case. So a bit of rebuild about why we believe that a war will happen. So those inner political forces are only waiting to take control, right? They only want more money and more land, and to establish their family for the long term. And they're always having this small political place of who is going to gain more control and more power. Now, when there is no king, there is no stable ruler, it's easier for them to just really take advantage and take their chance and try to get more lands over time. This is why we believe this is likely to happen, because they just really don't have any strong opposition to those moves, and they have a lot to gain to their further generations. So this is why we believe they will do it. And now we also want to establish why when there is no king, it means that there will be chaos. Now, in this specific time of period of time, the leaders are also men. And also I want to quote first opposition, which explained to me why Odysseus, or whatever his name is, was such a great king. Why? Because he was a strong warrior. He was a great war strategic force. With one hand, he beat all of them in the battle. Those are the reasons that he established his rule. Those are the reasons that all of his citizens and all of the other countries around him afraid him and respect him. And this is the reason a woman cannot do it, because the most political power you can gain is through war and war achievements, and she cannot have it. Only a man can have it. And this is why the only way to lead those countries is through a king, a male king, and possibly a warrior king. This is about the rebuild. Now let's wait what we heard from other places. First of all, first government. So the thing is, we believe the first government did not analysis and did give us enough analysis to the sentences they gave us. Nadav is telling me, oh, so they will just take the power, they take the government by force. No explanation to why, no explanation to the weakness of Penelope towards them, no explanation to the inner forces that Dafna gives to you. Furthermore, they're just saying in this very simple sentence, oh, there will be a chaos without a king ruling. But again, did not explain how exactly this chaos is going to look. And the most importantly, they did not show the likelihood of those things happened. Like Dafna told us, that those are just really hungry wolves that are just waiting to take advantage of this weak situation. This is only coming from us. This is about first government, about first opposition. Well, they're saying they're giving us a feminist case, but as I explained earlier, they did exactly the opposite when explaining to us why the male properties that they had are much stronger. But let me tell you something. The entire case is leaning on the fact that he is coming back, when this is just an option that will or will not happen by our point of view. When we gave you as 3 scenarios that is most likely will happen regardless of his coming back or not, and one war battle to them, the public might feel hurt by their former king that actually abandoned them, so he will not have the same support that he used to have now that he has abandoned them for 20 years. Before I go on, yes, second.
There are always people that want to be king and rule. We prove that Penelope is going to be the best ruler, hence people will support her rule and won't go to civil war against her.
Please listen, it does not matter if the public within the country support her, if all the other countries from the surrounding does not support her, does not respect her, does not see her as any actual strategic war opposition, and it's easier for them to just conquer her and doesn't really think about the consequences. So this is the case that we're giving. So again, about first opposition. First of all, we believe that the power that this king once had is no longer existing. It's been 20 years. The public forgot. The public is angry for being abandoned. And moreover, we have 3 legs case that will probably happen regardless of he is coming back or not. Now, to second opposition, which I already answered, but I will answer again. So they're saying that Penelope is the best leader. As I explained earlier, we need a man. But Dafna saying why Penelope have the unique option to choose the best leader for her citizen. The best service she can give to her citizen is not ruling them, is just choosing the best king for them. This is the greatest service she can do. If she's not doing that, she's failing her obligation toward them, and she's failing her duty. For all of those reasons, we just want to have less violence in this debate, and we are the side that gives you this great impact.
I think I would be able to call the position.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Great. Ramy. Oh. Just organize it first. Starting in 3, 2. This debate is the most useful my literature major in high school will ever be. Let's quick lessons in this debate. First, what will help, what the suitors, how will the suitors affect? 2, general impact on Ithaca. 3, impact on Penelope's. Before that, one external. So we get from CG as a reply to the POI that Murad explains like, listen, there's no chance for a civil war because the people in Ithaca will actually appreciate Penelope when they see she's a good queen because Murad explanation. Then they say, listen, all the other countries around Ithaca want support her. So here is a rebuttal. We think that other countries are not dumb. You're not just looking on a queen saying, ooh, it's a woman, therefore she will be really bad. We think that they look on how many soldiers this country has, on how much money this country has. We think that all those things are way more important, especially when we're talking on outer countries. In this case, Murad's case is just way more relevant because when Murad explains you why she will be the best ruler, because she is the only queen that actually cares about the people and not only about her own power and money. When she explains what she feels like it's a destiny, it's a mission, and therefore she will prepare way better to be a queen. When Murad explains why she's not doing decisions by herself, but using many more advisors and doing many more rational decisions and not decisions that are on glimpse or derived from ego. This is an explanation why there would be a civil war. The people in Ithaca and outside of Ithaca will appreciate her because what she does to the country, because she brings. Now let's okay. Now oh no, my thing. So okay. So the first class about suitors and how will the impact and weighing of why this is not so important. So we think that in this clash, like OG says, listen, people will feel that they're weak, they will have no effect on the rules. So we think this is just symmetrical. And then OG says the suitors want to exploit Penelope politically, and OG says Penelope will marry Haran and the other wants support. So we think two ways why this is not important. One, Penelope has wit. She fought all those suitors. We think that she can face them and she has power. Almost explanation for why she can be a good king with power. A good queen with power. 2, we think that support from many more people, from all the rest of the people in Ithaca, is way more important than support of the suitors. So therefore, we think that it is just not relevant. If she's a good queen, other support will affect. Now let's go to the first class, to the second class about Penelope's happiness. So O says, it talks about her relationship with her husband, why marrying is bad, why she didn't want to be in this relationship, etc. And then they say in one liner of she will feel guilty, she's still thinking about Odysseus. What Murad tells you here is really important in his case about Lior. Yeah. One, he explains why she feels like she owes to him, why he was a very big part of her life, why she feels like she believes every day that he will return. So she feels like he might be, again, an important part of her life because he helped her. He made her queen. All those things, all the things that he taught her. So Murad explains why she feels like she owes to him. She feels that he helped her so much, and therefore she will feel guilty and she will want to be loyal. 2, Murad explains why she feels like she betrayed to him, why she feels like she's cheating on him, she replaced him, and why is it better than what we get from OO? OO says she's feeling guilty. Murad explains why exactly she feels guilty and she feels she is doing a betrayal. Murad explains why by doing this, by marrying another man, she's actually believing that he won't come back. She's falling under the pressure of all the people telling her to remarry and believing that he won't come back. This is what Murad explains as being a betrayal. And we think that this is very important, something you don't get from OO. This is way more important than other OO's contribution about her happiness, because it explains not only why this was a good love story, but why she feels this is the most important thing in her life, and she's so she should be so loyal to. Now let's continue to a third clash about Ithaca and why she will be the best queen ever. Before I continue, CG.
Time and time again, you refuse to engage with our analysis of how a good leader for that time is going to be a strong strategic military man. You cannot go around that. And
Listen, you have no analysis of why it should be a man. Woman. Listen, here is what Murad tells you. Murad tells you why she has those tools. Like she says, she has more experience. Murad explains why at the beginning people will question her ruin, therefore she'll take advisor, therefore she'll take more rational decisions, she'll study more. So we think she will be more strategical, and also we give that new analysis over OO there and explaining why she will be strategical and make better decisions. So we think that if we show you support, if we show you if we show you support, if we show you why she will care about the people way more than any other king, comparatively, we think this is better analysis. Now let's go to it. So what OG says, they say first, listen, we need a new king. We can't base like on random people. We have no soldiers. What OO's reply to that is that like not all soldiers went to Troya, so not all soldiers are dead. But Murad gives you better answer for that. Why we do have those soldiers today? Why do we have advice? Why we don't need this new king? Like all Murad's case is a way better response. Then OG says, listen, Odysseus shouldn't be the king. Like he's old, he didn't want to rule, he has a crown. First, we think that he shouldn't be the best soldier in order to rule. We think that even if it comes back like he doesn't need to fight on. Two, we think that he practically was a good king, yeah, even if he didn't want to do it. Three, we think that he's coming back, gives moral to Ithaca, because he came back after so many years. So we think that it is very good and it can be still a good king. And then they say, listen, this is unsustainable lifestyle. We don't understand why it changes and why like parties change until their side. Then what OO brings there is like, he had good strategy, good soldier, again, was a good soldier. Again, we don't understand why she should be such a good soldier in order to protect Ithaca, and how like Penelope has wit. Murad analyzed what is this wit. Murad analyzed what are the good decisions that Penelope made. Murad gives you comparative against not investing in power, in money. Something unique that Murad brings is what she feels this is a mission, this is a destiny, and she sees this as the most important thing of her life and as their duty. For all those reasons, because she will be a very good queen and will help all the people in Ithaca. Very proud.